Hello everyone, welcome to MS-102, Microsoft 365 Administrator. This certification is designed for people who manage Microsoft 365 in real organizations, not just labs. As an administrator, your responsibility is availability, security, identity, and compliance. Microsoft 365 is not one product. It is an ecosystem of services working together in this particular course. We will understand how these services are connected behind the scene. You will also learn Microsoft recommends certain design, not just how to click buttons. Everything we discuss is aligned with enterprise deployment scenarios. Real company face scale, audit, outage, and security threats. That is our mindset here. So this course prepare you to speak confidently with security teams, auditor, and management. Think of yourself as a student, but as a tenant owner starting today. We will be talking about lots of analogy, like if I talk about corporate ID, so this course is likely training a new IT manager before giving the production access. Or maybe Microsoft 365, you can think of it as an airport ecosystem where you can get security package, boarding, and control the towers that all must work together. And another example I can give you, you are not learning one machine, you are going to learn an entire factory operation. So let's start with this. Let me start with my introduction first. Myself, Nitesh Shukla. I'm one of the Microsoft certified trainer. I'm working as a consultant and a trainer across multiple organizations, providing trainings to the leading companies worldwide, and I'm a part of Microsoft Worldwide Learning. This means I see real production mistakes, not just textbook examples. My role here is to translate Microsoft documentation into a practical understanding. We will talk about what should be done and what companies actually do. I will also share some common mistakes admin, actually making during their tenant setup. This will help you to avoid rework and security, gaps later on. So feel free to stay with me in this journey. This is a 5 days training program, including your exam preparation on the last day. Thank you so much, guys, for joining the session. So, day one, we will be talking about, as you guys can see on my screen, let me use this pen to make you understood about it. When we are talking about our day one, we will be talking about learning path where you can see how do you configure your Microsoft 365 tenant. Give me 1 second here. Let me clear all the drawing. Yeah. So yes, we will be talking about here how do you configure your Microsoft 365 tenant. So day one is entirely about the foundation. We will focus on tenant structure, identities, and access. We focus on tenant structure, identities, and access. And security tools make sense only after foundation is clear. So how do you configure your Microsoft 365 experience, creating a tenant, and how do you configure organization settings, including security and privacy and organizational profile? We will start with tenant creation and organization settings. Then we will move into user licenses uh, and contacts. So how do you manage user licenses and mail contacts in Microsoft 365? Then how do you create and manage users in Microsoft Entra, including external users? How do you create and manage contacts in Microsoft 365 Admin Center? So after that, we will be covering groups and shared mailboxes. Finally, we will understand the role and services. So we will be talking about how do you manage groups in Microsoft 365, how do you create and manage groups, including Microsoft 365 groups and shared mailboxes, followed by another learning part where we will be talking about how do you manage your Microsoft 365 tenant, how do you manage permissions, roles, and role groups in Microsoft 365, implementing and managing roles in Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Entra. How do you manage role groups in Microsoft Defender XDR, Microsoft Preview, and Microsoft 365 workloads? And how do you manage your tenant health and services in Microsoft 365? Followed by how do you monitor the health of Microsoft 365 services by using service health, including configuration of notification. So finally, we will understand the roles and service health. And this is actually a mirror how a real company is built built step by step. Skipping foundation always creates security problems later. That is the reason why Microsoft plays these topics first in this particular course. So we will be talking about you do not hire employees before registering the company, right? And you do not install CCTV before constructing walls, and you definitely define company code before your transactions, right? So this is how we will be covering. So this is the agenda, followed by day two. We will be talking about implementing directory synchronization. How do you synchronize your identities from on-premises to cloud? How do we manage identities and access in Microsoft 365? Followed by how do you manage your security services in Microsoft Defender XDR, and followed by implementing threat protection by using Microsoft Defender XDR. So these are the upcoming modules for day two. Day three, we will be talking about data governance in Microsoft 365, implementing compliance in Microsoft 365, and managing compliance in Microsoft 365. Day four, we will be talking about MS 4002, preparing security and compliance to support Microsoft 365 Copilot, followed by PL 7008, creating agents in Microsoft Studio, Copilot Studio. So we will be covering that. On the last day, we will do a revision and we will be talking about certification, and we'll also go through a couple of knowledge check questions, which probably can be really helpful for you in terms of your examination preparation. So this is the agenda for the entire course. Now starting up, the very first learning path which is coming up, how do we configure your Microsoft 365 tenant? So when it comes to tenant is actually a root container. You can think of a root container uh, where everything you configure exists inside the tenant. User, group, licenses, policies all depend on it. So tenant decisions are long-term and hard to reverse. So this includes region, domain, security defaults. Many companies regret early tenant decisions. As an admin, our job is to design for future growth. Microsoft Entra ID is the identity backbone of the tenant. Every sign-in request passes through the Entra. So tenant design is actually a security decision, not just an admin work. So we'll talk about it in this particular learning path. Very first module coming up, how do you configure your Microsoft 365 experience? So when it comes to how do you create a tenant, when you buy Microsoft 365, Microsoft automatically create a tenant for you. And this tenant has a default on Microsoft.com domain, as you can see on my share screen. Here it is. This is the one which you will automatically see that one over there. But that includes your initial name, which you will going to provide. And this initial name is first come, first serve basis. For example, if in case I have taken abc dot on microsoft.com, so abc is not available for anyone. You may use abc123, but you cannot use abc after that. So this domain is actually permanent and cannot be deleted. Tenant creation are also decide your data, where you're going to put your data in, which location you will going to decide for your data residency. Microsoft assign data centers based on region. So you can select that one and go with it. Some plans create Entra tenant automatically and some do not. So one organization can technically have multiple tenants, but multiple tenants increase your operational complexities as well. And most enterprise aim for one primary tenant at least. So here you can take certain subscriptions and you can sign up and get started with Microsoft Cloud. You can think of it as in your birth certificate. Your original name always exists. Headquarter is like, if I talk about headquarter in terms of headquarter, multiple headquarters can create confusion, right? So we have one headquarter and multiple branch offices. Or if I take that example again, your original name always exists, but if in case you want to change your display name, you can do that, right? And the another example I can give you is of our data center. Location decide the latency and compliance. So this is how you can get started with your tenant. Then we have how do you manage your tenant subscriptions? So guys, whenever you're signing up for Microsoft Cloud, you should have a subscription available there. Without a subscription, you cannot create any resources. So this is actually important. Maintaining minimum subscription requirement for your company is essential to remaining functional. License control what services users can access. Billing information lives in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Buying your licenses later changes your billing cycle. Under your license, you might see some, delay in project if in case you do not have a sufficient license available in your tenant. But over licensing also increase the unnecessary cost, right, as well. So you have to maintain that. And it is very easy to purchase additional licenses, right? Admin must align licenses with business roles. Like for example, if somebody is a frontline, worker, so you may give E1. If in case somebody is doing in-depth development, you may provide E3. And somebody is doing some security and you need some security related product and services, you may go for E5. Just an example, guys. So license planning is a part of IT governance. Some services requires add-on licenses, and admin must monitor the consumption regularly. So license management is a common, you can say, audit finding in it. For example, employees without seat cannot work, and entry depends upon your subscription level. And when it comes to, let's say, let's take example of a ERP user license. Some logic definitely gonna apply, right, with the license. So this is actually going to be utilized. And here you can see some of the examples are available, which you can assign and see the number of remaining licenses in your tenant from here. As an admin, this is the visibility you will get. When it comes to integrating Microsoft 365 with applications, Microsoft 365 extensively providing you add-on and third-party applications. So admin control the access via purchase service and marketplace. Uncontrolled app access create your security risk. So this is important from the admin standpoint to manage. Shadow IT start when governance is weak and private marketplace allow controlled access. So you will get that option available. You can go and purchase the licenses or you can purchase third-party product and services from the Azure marketplace. Trial expire. So in that scenario, it can give you your business description. So it can be ignored by taking, you know, the regular license, not working on a trial one. But yes, trial licenses are really helpful. If in case you would like to try something for a few days, you can do that. And admin must review the app permissions and followed by, like, for example, OAuth permission can expose your tenant data. So that is something which as an admin, you will be responsible for. App governance is now a security responsibility as well. So being a part of, as an administration team, you should have some idea about security and compliance because that also, very much in demand always. So app governance is now a security responsibility and followed by marketplace in the Azure portal where you can go and see those all certain things available there. So integration must follow the least privilege access rule. So enterprise example, if I can give you, like you're using App Store. So company managed phone restrict the installs. You cannot install this and that, right? Because it's a company managed phone. If I give you another, analogy regarding vendor access, vendors do not get full building access, right? And another example I can give you, like firewall rule. Every app is a potentially, you can say potential entry point. So that's one thing which we need to take care of. So that's where Microsoft security and compliance comes into the picture. There is one thing called unified audit logging. And with the help of this unified audit logging, it records the admin and user activity. It is essential for investigations and compliance. Without logs, incidents become assumptions, which is actually not good, right, for a business. You cannot assume the business, you cannot assume this and that. You have to take prompt decisions, right? So logs are actually retained for 180 days by default, which is 6 months, right? Which is good enough. Audit logs support legal and HR investigations, and teams rely on audit data. Admin must ensure that audit log is enabled. If it is not enabled by default on a newly created tenant, you can simply go and do that as well from your end. So when you are signing up for a tenant or you're creating up a tenant, this is something which is very important. So logs will be going to cover your Entra, Exchange, SharePoint, and more in it. Audit is reactive, not, you can say, preventive. But it is critical after an incident to manage that. You can think of it as a CCTV camera. You do not watch daily, but need it, right? Uh, Maybe not for now, maybe for later. Or let's take another example. You might know about flight black box, which tells what exactly happened, right? But you may not need it on a daily basis, but you need it, right? Or let's take example of bank transaction logs. It is essential, right, for disputes. So here is the examples for it. So how do you configure your Microsoft 365 organizational profile? You set up a profile. You can go and set up a phone number, technical contact, domain name. So the address and phone numbers are used for billing and for support purposes. Microsoft 365 Global Administrator can edit the organizational profile in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, followed by a country or a region where your organization is headquartered determine which services are available for you, the taxes and the billing currency, followed by the location of the Microsoft data center. You cannot change your subscription country or region once you're done with your sign up. So it is when you're initially setting up your tenant, this thing must be taken care of. And to change your organization country or region, you must sign up for a new account. Then, migrating from one tenant to another comes into the picture. And you can choose the desired country or region accordingly and purchase new Microsoft 365 services before you cancel them in the previous tenant. So you will also get the theme option in it where you can change your background image, logo, or maybe colors that are applied to the sign-in page and the header of your Microsoft 365 apps. Otherwise, you will find one default, theme applied, which you can also change, which can be customized accordingly. So that was the very first module. Now, moving on to the second module, how do you manage users, licenses, and mail contacts in Microsoft 365? In this module, the organization profile, defined how Microsoft recognizes the company. Okay, this include company name, address, phone number, and some technical, details. So once you provided that all, you are good to go. You have successfully set up the tenant. But still, you're not done with that. You have to do lots of other things as well, right? In it. For example, you will be managing user license and mail contacts. And apart from that, you will be deciding whether you should go with identity model or you should, think about cloud only identities, hybrid identities, or you will be having, on-premise identities, but a pilot batch in the cloud. So this is something which you will decide in the user identity model, which is also very important when you're going to set up for your client, customer, in-house organization, right? Or maybe for your own company. So Microsoft 365 support three identity models, as you can see on my screen: cloud identities, synchronized identities, and federated identities. Cloud-only identities exist only in Microsoft Entra. Synchronized identities come from on-premise Active Directories. Federated identities rely on third-party authentication. Each model has optional and security implications in it. Uh, Cloud identities are, you can say, simple and directly go to cloud portal, create there. Synchronize identity required your directly synchronization tool as a different tool which Microsoft is offering. And by using any of them, you can synchronize your identity on Microsoft to cloud. If in case you're using federation, so federated identities add the complexity but support legacy systems as well. Microsoft recommends moving towards cloud identities. Modern security features works really best with cloud identities. You can think of it as a lead line versus mobile, right? So cloud identity is a mobile first. And you can also think of it as a centralized versus your branch office. Sync your add dependencies, right? Whenever you're trying to do that. Or you can think of it as a legacy ERP, application. Federation keeps your old system alive in it. So how do we create, configure, and manage users? Well, when it comes to creating, configuring, or managing users, that is up to your client, customer. So how do you proceed? I use is an identity. It is store authentication and authorization details. Users are of Entra Admin Center. An admin can create user individually or in bulk. Bulk creation reduces human error. PowerShell is preferred for large environments, and user can be in cloud or maybe synchronized or maybe external. And each user must have a correct attribute set up in it. Incorrect attribute can cause, you know, access issues later on. User objects are actually central to audit and compliance. So here you can see this is one of the screenshot where you can see all the users are listed over here along with your user principal name, like user type, and followed by if it is synchronized from on-premises or directly created in the cloud, like that. When it comes to creating user account in Microsoft 365, when it comes to the method, to create users, Microsoft provide you multiple ways to create users. Admin Center is good for small volumes. CSV, import, support bulk onboarding. PowerShell offers automation and consistency. Directory sync mirrors on-premise users. So the choice depends upon your organization size. It really doesn't matter, you will be using this and that option. It's totally up to you how you want to proceed with it. You can use Microsoft 365 Admin Center. You can import multiple users. You can go with Windows PowerShell option, or you can synchronize if it is a on-premise organization. So most enterprise uses the directory synchronization, and admin must standardize the process. So you can decide, do you want to continue using your manual versus automated payload, or maybe you would like to go with your factory assembly line, or maybe you want to go with bulk hiring process. It's totally up to you, or maybe your client or customer can decide this. After creation of your users, you can manage your user account settings in Microsoft 365. Do you want to assign administrative roles? Do you want to setting up your user sign-in status? Specifying user and signing licenses. So you can use Microsoft 365 Admin Center to edit single or multiple users in it. So when it comes to managing user account settings, user management goes beyond curation. Admin assign roles to users, and location settings affect your license availability. Sign-in status control the access. Licenses actually define your service users. So you can also use that bulk editing, which can also save your time a lot, right? And role assignment must follow the least privilege principle. You should not be giving any excessive access, right, which doesn't actually required. So incorrect role assignment is a security risk. Admin must audit user settings regularly and change the tracking, uh, you can say, is important for compliance as well. So you can also think of it as an job role assignment, office access level, or you can think of it as a system privilege, privileges in it. Is it possible to recover user if in case mistakenly deleted? Well, it's an interesting one, but yes, it is very important to know. Absolutely. Deleted users are not permanently removed. Microsoft keeps them for 30 days. So this is called soft deletion. Admin can restore users during this period easily. So when you delete a user account, the assigned Microsoft 365 license for that user becomes available, which can be assigned to other users. The account becomes inactive so the user cannot sign into Microsoft 365 services, and Microsoft 365 retain the account as a soft delete inactive account for 30 days after deletion. This enables you to restore the account if it is required. So deleted users are still part of your managed tenant. A recovery operation simply reactivates the Microsoft Entra user in it. So restore users regain the identity, and permanent deletion occurs after 30 days. If in case you delete a user account, it goes to deletion, stay there for 30 days, and after that, it will be permanently deleted. So admin must act quickly and offboarding must be documented, right, for other admins or other higher department in that case. Followed by when it comes to manage your user licenses in Microsoft 365. So in that case, you can manage the license of the user. Like for example, every license comes with so many different features. Okay. So when you assign any feature, to a user, you cannot do like, you can remove a feature from one license and assign it to another user. No, you cannot do that, right? So you should be assigning a separate license for each and every user. Okay. So to assign a license, you can use Microsoft 365 Admin Center, PowerShell, or maybe uh, Windows PowerShell, or maybe Microsoft 365 Admin Center. One of the most basic tasks for Microsoft 365 administrators is to manage user and their licenses. Users need license to use Microsoft 365 services like Outlook, SharePoint are one of the basic examples I can give you. Only global administrators and user management administrator can assign or maybe remove any licenses. So when you assign a license to a user, the service is automatically set up for that particular user account. If we talk about B2B users, guest users are also very important, right? In our house as well, guests are very important. So guest users are external identities. They belong to partner or vendors. They authenticate using their own identity, and guests have limited access always. They should not, receive admin role. So guest access must be reviewed regularly, and stale guests increase your security risk. So clean them as well. B2B enables the collaboration without full accounts, you can say, and conditional access should restrict the guest. Okay. Think of think of a guest not as your permanent employees, right? For example, visitor, for example, vendor, for example, temporary pass you have issued to someone, right? Like that. And finally, let's talk about one more thing. How do you create and manage contacts? So, mail contacts represent external email users. They cannot sign in. They appear in global address list in your GAL and used for the business communications. Contacts simplify your email routing. They are not licensed, managed via, you can say, Exchange Admin Center, and permissions are role based. So contacts support hybrid environments and they differ from your guest users. Okay, so this is something which you can use to manage. Now the next module is how do you manage groups in Microsoft 365? When it comes to groups, now as we have talked about users, what all type of user exist, or else how do you bring users from on-premises to cloud? We need a scalable way to manage the access. So no enterprise, uh, we never assign permissions directly to users. Groups are the backbone of access control. Groups, similar security, collaboration, and administration. If group strategy is weak, admin work will also increases, you know, accordingly. So here you can see on my screen, it is showing you different type of grouping options which are available. Like we have security groups, which is most common, manage access to shared resources for a group, can be nested group and followed by Microsoft 365 group solution. Group simplify the security, collaboration, and administration. If your group strategy is weak, admin work will also increases accordingly. So Microsoft 365 groups are tightly integrated with services. Security groups are also, you can say, critical for access control. So choosing the right group type that matters. Okay, so here we can see uh, how to design your group strategy. You can go to your Azure portal. You can see under this group type or from the M365 Admin Center, you can see those all different groups types and work with it. Let's understand. Let's take a analogy of a enterprise. Department wise, let's say HR, finance, IT are groups, right? Not individuals. And if we talk about the distribution list, so one email reaches many people, right? That is also, you can say, through grouping, it is possible. And if we talk about the access badge, so badge belongs to role, not that, person like that. So this is equivalently very important as well from that standpoint. So when we are talking about groups, or let's say if in case we are talking about security group versus Microsoft 365 group, let's talk about it. Security groups are primary for access control. They can be nested and used across your services. Microsoft 365 groups are the collaboration focused. They automatically create mailbox, SharePoint site, or maybe a calendar. Security groups do not create the collaboration, resources. Microsoft 365 groups can include external users, as you can see here. And security groups are actually more flexible for permissions. So you can assign manage access to shared sources for a group or maybe nesting solution if in case you're looking for where Microsoft 365 unable to nest like that. So Microsoft 365 groups cannot be nested. Admin must choose the based on the use cases, right? Wrong group, choice can cause long term issues. So that is also very important to understand and relate accordingly. If in case we talk about some best practices which we can follow when it comes to groups, here you can see guys, this particular uh, screen is trying to help you to understand the best practices which you can follow when creating and managing groups. Like for example, naming convention, reduce the confusion. So keep your group's naming convention simpler but clear. That is important. Groups must have at least two owners, right? So when you're creating a group, you will be the owner of it. So after that, you can add one more. So at least two owner of a group that can one help out the another one in their absence. Never add users directly to default groups. This is also very important. And when it comes to use security groups inside your role assignment, that is also really helpful because if in case you have given access directly to users, what will happen if user left the company? You have to explicitly remove, right, from every possible user. But when you're doing it with a group, you just need to remove the user from the group when they left it. You can review your group membership, regularly and avoid the amended groups. Group should reflect your business structure accordingly. So that's also very important point here. Group should also, maintain the consistency, which matters more than your creativity. Good groups hygiene improves your security anyhow. So that's another very important thing to note down here. And you can only restore your Microsoft 365 groups once you delete them. So that is equivalently very important as well. Like when it comes to the analogy of enterprise, folder structure we can think of, or maybe we can think about organization chart, or maybe we can think about as a warehouse labeling, right? Requirement accordingly. Apart from that, when it comes to dynamic groups using Microsoft Entra Rule Builder, that is also plays a very important role. Let's understand this. Suppose a user join a company and your entire organization is working, in a multiple locations. Let's say you have a head office, you have branch offices. So what you can do in that case, if user join from one particular location, right? So you can create this dynamic group membership. And if user, let's say based on location, there are so many attributes available which you can play around. I'm just giving you one example. If user belongs to Australia, should become a part of my security group 5. Whereas if user is a part of US, user is from US region, will become a part of your security group 10, for example, like that. So based on this dynamic grouping membership, you can do that. Users are automatically, added or removed based on their attributes. And rules are based on attribute, as I said. So that is also very important. So organization can use the rules to determine the group membership. Microsoft 365 support dynamic membership of security groups and as well as Microsoft 365 group. Apart from that, you can see guys here, when an attribute changes for a user or device, the system examine all the dynamic group rules in the organization for membership changes. And it then adds or remove the users and devices if they meet the conditions for a group. So the following rules govern the dynamic group membership. Cannot manually add or remove a member of a dynamic group. You can create a dynamic group for a device of users, but you cannot create a rule that contains both users and devices. You cannot create a device group based on the user attribute of the device owner and device membership rules. The rules can only reference the device attributes. So you cannot manually, manage the members. Dynamic group reduce the admin efforts. They're idle for large enterprise. And rules must be tested, carefully before you explicitly, apply to all the members in your organization. And wrong rules can also expose data. That is also very important. Devices and users use the different rules. So dynamic groups are powerful but dangerous if it is misused. So be extra careful as an admin whenever you're creating that. You can think of a enterprise analogy if I share with you like a automatic attendance system, smart access gate, or maybe think of it as an HR auto policy assignment, right? Like that. Moving on, if we talk about shared mailboxes, which is another, type of mailboxes which you can go with. So you can give the email address, like a generic email address you can give. Like, for example, here you can see sales@contoso.com. So it is actually a way for teams to provide you a centralized services, support for multiple users to monitor and reply to the email addresses. Shared mailboxes are used by teams. They do not have passwords. Multiple user access the same mailbox. Like for example, if in case you are the member of a help desk team, right? So you can link this shared mailbox with multiple, uh, you know, members of that particular team, and then everyone can check and maybe reply on behalf of that mailbox, or maybe reply as a mailbox, right? Like that. They do not require licenses. Even without a license as well, you can create a shared mailbox. Best use case you can use for sales, you can use for support, you can use for HR, right? Like that. So permissions are actually delegated and they are not user, you can say, identities. And shared mailbox help you to simplify your communication, and mobile access has limitation. So they do not replace your user mailbox. Don't think as a, okay, if there is no license required, we will only create shared mailboxes to save the cost of our client or customer. Not like that. Okay. So yeah, this is important information which are available here for you. So you can think of it as a reception desk or maybe support, counter, or maybe a shared phone, right? Like that. Apart from that, guys, this is also very important. Microsoft 365 group naming policy. As the name says, it is a naming policy. So group naming policy enforce a consistent naming strategy for groups created by users. Microsoft 365 applies the policy to the group name and group alias. A name policy can help users to identify the function of a group, membership, or maybe geographic location like region or who created the group. So policy can block users from using specific words in a group name and the alias. And you can enter a common, separated list of blocked words that your system, blocks in a group name and the aliases. Let me simplify this for you. Naming policy enforce the standardization. The policy going to be applied automatically when user try to create groups, and they can add prefixes or suffixes accordingly. You can do that. So you can see here, organization should consider the following best practices using the short string as a suffix, using attributes with the values. Do not, don't be too creative. The system allows a maximum name length of 264 characters. Upload your organization specific blocked words to restrict the users. So this will, prevent the misuse and the confusion. Okay. Policies improve the discoverability and over to our creativity that should not be avoided, right? So naming length has a limit and policy reflect your enterprise discipline accordingly, like file naming or maybe convention or maybe your employee ID format, right? Like that. Or maybe your asset tagging, another example could be accordingly. So this is how you can work it out with it. And apart from that, this was the end of your learning path one for today. So far, what we have done, we started up uh, how do you configure your Microsoft 365 tenant? How do you configure your Microsoft 365 experience? How do you create a tenant? Configure organization settings, including security and privacy and organization profile. How do you manage user licenses, mail contacts in Microsoft 365? How do you create and manage users in Entra, including external users? How do you create and manage your contacts in Microsoft 365 Admin Center? And how do you manage your groups in Microsoft 365? How do you create and manage groups, including Microsoft 365 group and shared mailbox? This is the last two things which we talked about. Now it's time to take a quick 5 minutes breather break. And after that, we will be moving on to your next topic. Thank you. All right. Hope everybody in. Let's continue. Now, coming up next is the next learning path. How do you manage your Microsoft 365 tenant? Under this one, the next learning path covering the module, how do you manage permissions, roles, and role groups in Microsoft 365? So let's talk about it. When we are talking about, we created a tenant, users, groups, and identities. But the big question is, who is allowed to do what? Microsoft 365 follows our role-based access control model. This means permissions are not given randomly, they are actually bundled into roles. So a role actually defines what actions you can perform, on which service, at what level. So the one which you can see on my screen right now, it is actually showing you roles, scopes, and followed by assignments, which you can see it here. If in case we talk about roles which are extremely powerful, if it is misused, they can become a security nightmare. So there are different type of roles. Global role, or maybe service specific role, or maybe a feature specific role you can assign. For example, a global administrator can do almost everything, can manage your enter ID objects, or maybe managing your resources. An exchange administrator can manage mailboxes but not identities. Security administrator can manage security settings but not billing. So in real enterprise, the numbers, I would say, one which is actually uh, mistakenly, I would say, like too many global admins. That also leads to some problems, right? So people give global admin access because it is easy, but easy does not means it is secure. Microsoft clearly recommend to you that keeping your global admins minimum and assign only the job required roles. Remove the access when it is not needed. So Microsoft 365 permission model is based on the concept of roles, scope, and assignments accordingly. And as you can see, we have direct assignment, indirect assignment, two type of scope, like a directory scope or maybe management scope, and two type of roles which are available, like built-in role and custom roles which are available in it. So roles should always match, business responsibility, not convenience. So remember, roles are not, about trust. Roles are about risk management. So if in case we talk about, the roles which we have here, you can assign like global role, service specific roles, or maybe feature specific roles accordingly. If in case you're trying to create a role, so you can go to your Enter ID and you will find roles and administrator where you can see there are so many roles available there with their description. So if in case we talk about Microsoft Enter ID roles, so you can go from the Enter ID and then you can utilize this portal intended for IT admins, app developers, Microsoft 365, Office 365, Azure, or maybe Dynamics CRM, online subscribers like that. And define the access to Enter ID resources and do not overlap with Azure roles by default. So this is how you can manage that. Let's say Microsoft strongly recommend that your organization should have only 2 to 4 global administrators. Multi-factor authentication enabled for every admin account. No permanent high privilege access should be given. Why? Because admin accounts are the primary target for attackers. One compromised, or let's say if your global admin account compromised, full tenant can be compromised. So that's why Microsoft, promote the concept of least privileges in that. Least privileges means you will give exactly the permission, required, not more, not less accordingly. So here you can see there are so many roles available. By selecting the role, you can provide the access accordingly. So least privilege role should be given, not like you're giving global admin access to everyone, right? So least privilege means you give exactly the permission required, not more, not less. Another best practice which we can say, do not sync your on-premise admin accounts. Why? Why we should not do that? Because if on-premise Active Directory is compromised, your account admin, account is also compromised in that case. So only establish 2 to 4 global admins, assign the least privilege, permissive role, and required multi-factor authentication for admin. Some common use Microsoft 365 admin roles are highlighted here. These are all built-in roles, but if you want, you can also create a custom role as well, like billing administrator, compliance admin, Exchange administrator, global administrator, reader administrator, or maybe groups administrator, and so on. Okay, so you can assign accordingly. So Microsoft recommend you assigning roles to groups, not individuals. Regular access review should always be a good practice, and documenting, who has which role and why, right? And one very big important point here, admin access should never be permanent, okay, by default. So you can think about using privilege identity management. Okay, this is how you can assign that. So these are the list of best practices, guys, which you should follow. Manage the least privilege, use privilege identity management or grant just-in-time access, turn off MFA, and so on. So let's talk about it. Now, at least we understand why the least privileges are important. So let's understand about PIM. When we are talking about PIM, privilege identity management, so privileged identity management or PIM is one of the most powerful security feature in Microsoft Entra. PIM changes the way your admin access actually works. Instead of giving permanent admin rights, PIM gives just-in-time access. Let me ask you a question. Suppose you guys are working as a security administrator. So do you require security admin role all the time, like 24 by 7? Not really, right? You may need it during your working hours only. Or maybe if you need it after working hours for any XYZ reason, you should have some kind of a process which can give you the approval, right? So it should be recorded, right, under your auditing. So PIM changes the way your admin actually, how your admin access actually works. Instead of giving permanent admin access, PIM gives just-in-time access. So what does that mean? It means you are not an admin all the time. You become an admin only when you need it. For example, as I said, you are a security administrator, you log in as a normal user. Why you need admin access? Let's say for any specific task, so you activate the role. So during your activation, you can configure like MFA is required, justification is required, approval may be required, and time limit is also enforced accordingly. So after this and that particular time, it will automatically revoke the access. If required, you can go for it one more time if you are eligible for it. So after the time expires, access is automatically removed. This is actually drastically reduce the attack surface area for the hackers or the bad actors. Even if your account is compromised, the attacker cannot do much with your activating role. PIM also provide full audit logs, activation history, and compliance evidence. In zero trust architecture, PIM is not an optional, I would say it is mandatory for you to apply. If your organization says they are actually secure but do not use PIM for admin roles, they are not truly secure. Okay, in that case. So you should follow some best practices like turn out the MFA for your administrative account, configure recurring access reviews to revoke unneeded permissions over time, limit the number of global admins to less than 5, and use groups for Microsoft Entra role assignment and delegate the role assignment, and use the cloud native accounts for Microsoft Entra roles. After that, here you can see how do you manage your roles across Microsoft 365 ecosystem. You can go to M365 Admin Center and it will show you how do you support the permission management through users and group management, as your role-based access control, service-specific permission, application and app isolation, or maybe you can say application and app permission accordingly. Whereas if in case you're going from the Azure, you can say Entra ID portal, so conditional access policies, risk-based authentication, identity insights and monitoring, followed by passwordless authentication, or your data residency and security accordingly. Microsoft Defender portal, there's a dedicated portal for Defender XDR, which can be accessed by using security.microsoft.com. Give you threat investigation, incident management, advanced hunting, analytics, threat analytics, followed by integration with other Microsoft security services, which is providing you a holistic view of security across the organization. And followed by Microsoft Purview Compliance Portal, which give you compliance management, data protection, risk management and insights, e-discovery and legal hold, compliance and reporting and auditing, followed by collaboration and training. So we are currently following that approach of a training given to the admins, right, accordingly. And here you can see, guys, this area is also really helpful, giving you role groups, Microsoft security and compliance. So like area like security operations, platform, Microsoft Defender XDR, security operations center team. For access control, you can go with incident and alerts, advanced hunting, endpoint and identity security. Followed by compliance and governance, you will go with Microsoft Purview portal, which is purview.microsoft.com. And here you will find compliance and data protection, e-discovery, and insider risk, followed by DLP. And followed by administrators. So administration, when it comes to that, so you can think from the administration, you can use Microsoft 365, delegated admin access, Exchange admin, compliance admin, or security admin role accordingly. You can assign and utilize it. Okay, moving on. When it comes to assigning your admin roles to users in Microsoft 365, so global admin roles including all the service administrator role, not just the four which is showing up here like Exchange admin, SharePoint admin, security and compliance admin, and Teams admin. Global admin can manage, more than that as well. So in Microsoft 365, administrator roles assign the specific administrative functions to users, like each admin role map to the common business functions and give permissions to do a specific task in Microsoft 365 Admin Center. User can be assigned multiple admin role since they are not manually exclusive. And you can manage your admin role in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center of Windows PowerShell. And to assign admin role in Microsoft 365 Admin Center, you must assign the global administrator role in it. Yeah, another very important point here, guys, when it comes to giving a delegation to, uh, you can say like you're going to give a delegation. Let's say you're going through a partner. Partners offer you along with licenses, they can give you support. In that case, you might need to give a delegation to your tenant, but you have to be extra careful. Organization should carefully consider the level of trust and access they grant, when delegating administration to a partner. Delegating administrators are restricted with full access, full administration, or you can go with limited administration. We recommend to go with this limited administration, which provide restricted admin privileges like manage user account but cannot create them, reset password and manage group permissions, view and manage support tickets, cannot access more sensitive settings such as managing domains, subscriptions, or maybe security settings. Whereas the full administration can can be giving the option like create and manage user account, assign roles and permissions, managing security settings and uh, subscriptions and purchasing and assigning licenses, modifying Exchange Online settings and manage email and mailboxes, manage SharePoint online sites and files accordingly. So you can implement the role groups in Microsoft 365 and you can take the benefit of it, like simplify the role assignment, improve the security and compliance posture, giving users only the minimum permissions they needed, and increase the productivity and collaboration. And role group best practices you should follow: use the built-in role groups whenever it's possible. You can create a custom role group if built-in role group does not meet your specific need, and only create custom role group when needed. Okay, in it. Regularly review and update the role groups. Create the custom role group, Microsoft 365 Admin Center, Microsoft Entra Portal, Microsoft PowerShell, Windows PowerShell, which you can install. So you can also create the custom role group accordingly if you have any requirement. Along with that, when it comes to role group restriction, you cannot change a role group into a non, role group. You cannot turn an, existing group into a role group, or only global, you can say, admins and privileged role administrator can create a role group. A group cannot be added as a member of a role group, like that. So these are some of the things which you need to take care of. After that, coming up next, we have module where we will be talking about how do you manage your tenants' health and services in Microsoft 365. When it comes to monitoring the health of Microsoft 365 services, this is also very important responsibility of our M365 administrator, which is tenant health and service monitoring. No matter how well you design your tenant, no matter how strong your security is, there will be times when your services are not available. And when that happens, the very first question user ask is, or your users will going to ask, is Microsoft down or is IT doing something wrong? And this is where the service health comes into the picture. Service health is a central dashboard provided by Microsoft where you can see the real-time status of Microsoft 365 services. So, service of each online service displays investigating service degradation, service interruption, restoring service, extended recovery, or maybe investigation suspended, service restored, false positive, post incidents report published, like that. So, as I said, Service Health is a central dashboard provided by Microsoft where you can see real time status of Microsoft 365 services. It tells you which service is impacted, in which region, and what type of issue it is, and what Microsoft is doing about it. You will see the difference, statuses like investigating, service degradation, service interruption, restoring service, service restored, like that. So let me give you one golden rule of, you can say Microsoft 365 administration journey. Before you troubleshoot anything, always check service health. Sometimes it can save hours of your time, actively doing troubleshooting and then realize, oh, there was some outage going on. So many admin waste hours, checking network, licenses, permissions, and configurations. When the issue is already a Microsoft side outage, Service Health also provide incident details, root cause analysis, or post-incident report accordingly. So when it comes to dashboard, whenever you open the dashboard of M365, you will find critical alerts are available, service health and users, and followed by recommended actions. For example, activating MFA, enabling monthly update for Office, or maybe share OneDrive training, like some of the example. So service health also provide you incident details, root cause analysis, and post-incident reports. And these reports are extremely useful when management asks why was Teams not working yesterday, as an example. So you do not need to guess, okay? You do not need to assume. You simply show the Microsoft incident reports accordingly. So you can also configure service health notification so that admins get the email alerts, support teams are informed earlier, or maybe users can be proactively informed. So a good admin is not just, someone who fixes the issue. A good admin is someone who communicates clearly and confidently. So service health give you the confidence, right, to talk to your client, talk to your managers, talk to your higher departments, right, like that. So how do you monitor the tenant health using Microsoft 365 Users Analytics? Well, now let's talk about Users Analytics, which is equally important, especially from a business perspective. So as you can see, guys, it is giving you four different points here. Let me explain you in an easy manner. Microsoft 365 is not cheap. So organization invest a lot of money in licenses. So one very common question from the management is, are we actually using what we paid for? So that's where the users analytics comes into the picture and help you to answer that question. Microsoft 365 provides a users report for Outlook, for Microsoft Teams, for SharePoint, for OneDrive, for Office applications, and these reports shows you how many users are active, how frequently services are used, or maybe trends, over time. For example, if a team is licensed but adoption is low, the problem may not be technical, it may be training related. If OneDrive users is very low, maybe users do not trust cloud storage yet, or by using this users analytics, it can help admins identify the adoption gaps, plan user training, optimize your license users, or justify the cost of management accordingly. So Microsoft also provide you adoption score, which measure the collaboration, content sharing, mobility, and teamwork. And for large organizations, these reports can be integrated with Power BI, giving deeper insights and long-term trends. And for larger organizations, these reports can be, integrated with Power BI, giving deeper insights and long-term trends. A modern Microsoft 365 administrator does not manage users and groups. They also help the organization get the value from the platform. And that's where the users analytics becomes a strategic tool, not just a reporting platform. So by using this one, you can go to your portal and find the things available there. When it comes to monitor your Microsoft 365 service health, so you can uh, see this is your service monitoring area. Tool you can use Microsoft 365 Service Health. Purpose you can track your service availability and the key capabilities it can provide you. It can give you incidents and advisories, real time status, and region wise impact in it. Then, followed by issue management, health dashboard, identify and assess issues, So you will find impact duration, root cause updates. When it comes to admin visibility, you can use Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Purpose, a centralized monitoring. Key capabilities, service status view and historical data view from there. Okay. So by using this one, you can definitely take a good benefit of this entire monitoring solution. If I take you to the portal just to show you certain things from here. So by going into your M365 Admin Center, by opening this link of admin.cloud.microsoft, this is how your M365 portal gonna looks like. So let's say, for example, you're looking to add a new user. You can expand this users tab, click on this active users blade. And from here, you can think about creating a new user by providing first name. Let's say this is my demo user. Then provide the display name which you want to go with. Let's say this is my demo.user. And this is my own custom domain. Otherwise, you can select the drop down and select your initial domain or maybe your custom domains from the given list of options. Then provide automatically creating a password or maybe a password which you want to set on it. So this will be a temporary password. So I'm going with the automatic creation and user required to change their password when they first try to sign in. After that, you can assign the license. For example, I'm going to assign this Microsoft 365 E5 developer license. And then if you want to give any role to this user, you can assign that role from here. From admin center access, you can see guys, this is the list of roles which are available. Or if in case you just want to create a user, you can leave this option as it is. Otherwise, you can select from the drop down and select the role which you want to go with. So global readers have read-only access to admin centers, while global admins have unlimited access to edit all the settings. So accordingly, you can decide, or you can click on this show all by categories, and you will find this is the big list of built-in roles which are available. You can select the one, or you can select multiple as well. No problem. You can do that. Otherwise, you can also create your own custom role and assign that one accordingly. Okay. If in case you would like to go and assign this role later, you can also do that. So by going next, when you are all set, you can simply click on finish and you have successfully added one user account in your M365 Admin Center. When you expand this health option from here, you will find the option called service health. So this is the service health area, guys, which I was talking about. Here you will find lots of active issues Microsoft is working on. Some admins and users managed through Microsoft 365 groups may be unable to access some Microsoft 365 services. Users may not receive email notification generated from the SharePoint Online rule, or maybe some users may see incorrect service names and description in services and in the event viewers upon upgrading to Windows 11. So you can find there are so many active issues which are going on, and you can check from the service status for multiple services like Microsoft Exchange Online, Microsoft 365 Suite, Microsoft Defender XDR, Microsoft OneDrive, Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Viva, SharePoint Online, and so on. So accordingly, you can utilize it. Now, let's say, for example, I would like to demonstrate to you how do you create a group. So by going into this Teams and Group option, when I click on this group option, you can see, guys, this is the security group option, which we talked about. And from here, you can click on this, create a new security group and provide the name to it. Let's say this is my demo security. So I'm giving a name as a demo security. And followed by the description if you want to add any. Then you can go next, and here you can select role assignment. As your ready role can be assigned to this particular group or no. This is what you can decide here. And then once you're done, this is the review page, final page, where you can find the entire settings available like group type, basics, and followed by settings. And by selecting that one, you can go and simply click on create group. And after that, you can click on close. So you are good to go. So this is all done. You have successfully added one particular group here. It can take some time to appear that group. If it is not appearing, it's not your fault. You just need to wait for some time and your group will start appearing. Like you can see, guys, this is demo security, which is appearing there now. Okay, returning back to this presentation here. So let's understand what all things we have done today. If in case we talk about this, so we have this one as well. Service health notification and best practices which you can follow. So like if you have a focus area of notification setup, right? So you may go from here and select the option accordingly. For example, if I go here and select notification setup, focused area, so you can see it is a scope of Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Objective is a proactive alerting, and the best practice is email alerts and message center notification you can configure. Then followed by configuration. Service health settings, and followed by relevant notifications only. Assign the admin recipients accordingly. So as a best practice, when it comes to operations best practices, all services and giving you minimize your business impact. Regular reviews, communicate outage, and track your post incident reports accordingly. So this was the summary of your learning path 2. In this particular learning path, we have talked about how do you manage your Microsoft 365 tenant? How do you manage your permissions, roles, and role groups in Microsoft 365? Implementing and managing roles in Microsoft 365 and Entra tenant. How do you manage your role groups in Microsoft Defender XDR, Microsoft Purview, and Microsoft 365 workloads? Also, how do you manage your tenant health? And followed by uh, your service health, including your configuration of the notification. Now let's summarize the entire topics which we have covered today. So returning back to this, the summary of learning path 1 of your day 1. So guys, starting up or before I show you more demonstration, I would like to, everyone mentally connect the dots. So Microsoft 365 is not a random, you can say a set of random portals. It is a connected system, guys. Everything start with a tenant. So that's why we talked about how do you create a tenant. Now, whenever you're trying to talk about tenant, so the tenant decide your region, your identity backbone, your security defaults. Inside the tenant, we create users. Users by themselves do not do much. So we introduce groups. Groups gives us scalability, and then we introduce licenses. So here you can see, guys, this is all available here. Licenses, users, groups, contacts, right? And other things around in it. So we introduce groups, we introduce licenses, which decide which particular services users can actually use. Then we introduce about roles, which decide who can manage what. And at finally, we introduce monitoring, including your service health, users analytics. So if you think like an administrator, tenant, identity, groups, access, security, and then monitoring. This flow is exactly how your real enterprise actually operates. If someone asks you tomorrow, how does Microsoft 365 works internally? So you should be able to explain it in this particular, by using this particular flow, not by clicking buttons, right? But by design logic. Okay. And apart from that, guys, today we also talked about one more important mindset shift, I want to highlight at this point. Admin mindset is different from the help desk mindset. Help desk fixed the issue for one user. Admin, design the system so issues do not happen repeatedly. For example, help desk add a user manually. Admin design groups, group based access. Help desk give permissions directly. Admin uses the roles and groups. Help desk checks one particular issue. Admin checks service health first. So as a Microsoft 365 administrator, you are expected to think system wide, not user by user. So this is exactly, what MS-102 is testing, right? So where is the button and why this design is recommended? You should change your mindset, right? Where is the button, or you can say from why this design is recommended. So this is actually you should be thinking about. Apart from that, guys, the other real world mistakes which I have observed, let me highlight the second learning path as well. So from this learning path, which you can see right now, which we talked about after that, short break in between, the mistake number one, too many global administrators. Mistake number two, permission assigned directly to users, not groups. Mistake number three, guest users never reviewed or removed. Mistake number four, audit logs not checked until something goes wrong. Mistake number five, licenses assigned without tracking users. So all these problems are solved by what we have covered: group based access, least privileges, we talked about privilege identity management, service health, users analytics, right? So your day one is not only about theoretical, right? It is a problem preservation which you can do. Apart from that, we also covered, you can see some of the highlights of the topics which we covered. I'll just quickly put some light on it. So guys, we also talked about, how do we utilize those learning path in your day-to-day, journey. If in case you're already working as an M365 administrator, or maybe you're planning, right, to do that. So let me show you some demonstrations, what you should practice after your class. Let me show you one thing here. That's what we called homework. So guys, look at here. This is something which you will be looking at. You will be doing from your end. So Microsoft giving you this session, right, where I have covered some of the part, but you will be putting your efforts and covering this all list of things by yourself by going to Microsoft Learn. So learning path which you will be taking care of, that is how do you configure Microsoft 365 tenant? How do you configure your Microsoft 365 experience, configure and monitoring software update by using the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, monitor Microsoft 365 adoption and users, configure and manage Microsoft 365 backup, manage user licenses and mail contacts in Microsoft 365, manage and monitor Microsoft 365 licenses, including group-based licensing, perform bulk user management, including PowerShell, manage groups in Microsoft 365, manage delegation by using administrative unit. And apart from that, you will be covering how do you manage Microsoft Entra roles in Microsoft Entra privilege identity management? How do you add a custom domain in Microsoft 365? Configure client connectivity in Microsoft 365, implement and manage domain, configure and review network connectivity insights. Another learning path where you will be covering how do you manage your Microsoft 365 tenant, deploy Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise, and how do you analyze your Microsoft 365 workspace data using Microsoft Viva Insights. And these are the list of labs which you're going to perform, and you will be getting hands-on understanding. Lab number one, you will going to initialize your M365 tenant. Lab number two, you will going to manage your users and groups. Lab number three, you will be adding a custom domain. And lab number four, which is your learning path to exercise one, lab two, exercise one, manage roles and role groups. Lab two, exercise two, monitor and troubleshoot Microsoft 365. Lab number two, exercise three, how do you manage a Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise installation? So by this, you will be able to do the hands-on practice from your end. Now let's start the demonstration part. So when I'm going to my M365 Admin Center, you can select from the given list of active users. For example, the demo user which I created, I'll just quickly open that one to show you. So when you select your existing user, you can see, guys, you will find no direct permission assigned to this particular user. For example, if you see this one here, we have not given any role here, right? So there is no manager role and no administrator role assigned to this particular user, right? Now let's say, for example, I don't want to assign this, right, any role from this user directly. I want to manage through a grouping solution. So you can select your active teams and groups option. And from here, you can click on this security group, for example, and you can do that from here. Instead of doing it from the user directly, you can do that from the group standpoint. So let's say, for example, if I want to add this user into this particular security department, which I have already, so I can go and add this user as a group owner, or I can add this user as a group member. So I'm going to add this user as a member. And you can see, guys, this is the email, the BCC email will be sent. Subject is this and message is this one. So by this way, you can send a message, right? And apart from that, if in case you would like to add direct members according to your requirement, you can also fulfill that requirement. Like, for example, we have this demo security group, which we created. So I can go here under this one. You can see, guys, role assignment is not allowed here, right? So under this members option, you can see when I click on this member section, I can add a member from here. So suppose I would like to add that demo user, which we created already, right? So I'm going to select this demo user. You can also search from here. And by selecting that user account, you can hit add to add it here. So you can see, guys, what I have done. I have added one particular user into this particular demo security group. Quite straightforward. You can simply manage from M365 Admin Center, but this is not the only option. You can go to your Azure portal as well. And from Azure portal, when you search here, you will find Entra ID. And by going into this Entra ID, you will find the same list of users available here as well. So let's say, for example, I do have this list of users available here. So you can select the user account and you will find the same list available here as well. but you just need to refresh once to see the updated list. And you can see, guys, we have this demo user also available here. But if you look into this particular one as your role assignment, so you may not be able to see any role assigned to this particular user right now. You can see no role assignment and no subscription assignment, right, as such. And when I select this particular option as uh, assigned role, so you can see, guys, in this particular tenant, we have this privilege identity management already available. So we have not given any eligibility role or any active assignment role to this particular user. So by going into this active assignment, when I click on this add assignment, you can select the role which you want to assign. For example, you can see this is the list of roles which you can assign, or you can make it eligible, right, to this user so that this user can request for that particular role. So let's say, for example, this user, I would like to say that this user can be a part of my custom role group. As you can see, guys, this is the custom role group option. Or else you can use the built-in roles which are available. For example, this user going to going to be a AI administrator in a company. So I can select that one. And here you can decide, do you want to give a permanent eligibility assignment or do you want to give only certain time, right, in it? So I can select that one, and by selecting this one, I can assign it. So for example, the maximum allowed eligible duration I can give can be activated or can be eligibility I can set. So let's say I would like to give an active assignment. So I can give permanent assignment, or I can select the date, for how long this going to be the active assignment, I would like to go with. Or let's say I would like to give only the eligibility. So this user will automatically request, to become that. And without adding it, it will not become this particular member. So let's say I would like to give the eligibility, and eligibility is permanently eligible, or you would like to set any time frame for it, maybe 1 month, maybe 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, right? So you can set that one. I'm giving it for 1 year, for example. And when I go and click on this assigned option here, so demo user will be added over here. You can see it will take a couple of minutes to reflect. You can check out the bell icon. So when you go to eligible assignment, you can see AI administrator role given to demo user, but demo user will be activating this role. Okay. Not like automatically becoming a member of an AI administrator group, right? Like that, or role assignment, you can say. After that, this user will be going to log in. And when this user will going to log into the Azure portal, then this user will search here for PIM. And when this user going to select this privilege identity management and clicking on this my roles, let me show you that one more time. When you select this privilege identity management from your Azure portal and selecting my roles, which is this option here, my roles, you will see that are you eligible for something? Are you an active assigned something? For example, I'm a global administrator, as well as you can see Microsoft Entra Joint Device Local Administrator. So by selecting this one, you can see all your active assignment or maybe whatever you are eligible for. And when you select that one, let's say you are eligible for an AI administrator. So by selecting that one, you can activate that. But your admin can do certain settings. For example, they would like to set up that whosoever holding this eligibility of AI administrator should be providing their, their AI tool name, like ITSM tool name and ticket number, taking it from the help desk before becoming that. And whosoever is approving it should also be giving the justification why they are approving it. So this way you can make it more, secure way of working with the assignments, right? With the help of this privilege identity management. Apart from that, apart from user groups, or you can say the assignment, you can also think about, when it comes to group, you can also create a dynamic distribution group. So I'll quickly show you. When you go to all users, like all groups, and click on this new group. So you can select the type, whether it is security group or a M365 group, and then provide the group name. For example, this is my security group one, security one, like that. So I have given this security one. By selecting this option here, membership type can be assigned or can be dynamic user or dynamic device. So when I'm selecting this dynamic user, I can click on this dynamic query. And from this dynamic query window, I can add a condition. So you can see guys here, this is the rule syntax which you can provide, or you can select from this given drop down. Let's say this user should become a part of this particular group only when you can see this particular option here, which is when the job title is this, when your employee ID is this, when your given name is this, when your department is equals to, like that. So for example, if your department is equals to, let's say IT, for example, so this is the condition. So you can see user department is equals to IT. If this is a scenario, then that user will automatically become a part of this particular group. Let's save it and create. So we have successfully created one particular group here, which will start reflecting here in this list after 1 or 2 minutes. Now you can see guys, we have this security one group. And currently, if you go to members, you may not find any member right now, right? Because department is not equals to IT, right? This is the condition which we have applied. So what we can do in that case, we can simply go to enter ID, selecting users, and the demo user which we have created, we can modify the properties of this user and selecting that specific setting, right, which we have talked about. So you can see guys here under your job title, company name, department, right? So if you remember the condition which we have set, that department is equals to IT. So I'm going to put that one and save it. Now after some time, it can take up to 15 minutes to 1 hour as well. If it is, showing you before this session end, I can also demonstrate that. So by going into your groups now, when you select that particular group from this all groups option and selecting this security one and clicking on this members option. So you can see guys, this user Rohit Sharma and Ritesh Shukla automatically become a member of this particular group because both are belongs to that IT department is equals to IT. If you wait for some time, you will see that one more user will be added here, that demo user, because the demo user department is also IT. Yeah, now you can see guys. Demo user is also a member of it because I just updated the department is equals to IT for this particular user. So this way you can configure and take the benefit of it. Okay. Apart from that, you can play around with your admin role from your M365 as well. From your M365 admin center, you will be able to see, uh, like for example, when you select your users list and select this active users from this given list, right? So you will be able to see those users available here. Like for example, currently we are talking about that demo user, right? So by selecting that demo user from here, you can see currently there is no role assigned, right, to it. But you can see this user automatically become a part of demo security and security one. So you can manage the group from here. You can see this is the membership, which is automatically assigned to this user. So guys, this is not a separate platform, right? This is a separate platform, but Active Directory concept is common, right? For you are managing from M365 Admin Center or from your Azure Active Directory, right? Like that. So this way you can work with it. And apart from that, as I said, right, you should not assign more global admins account, more than 5 global admins accounts. So how do you verify? How do you check that one? How many global admins are there? So by selecting this roles and administrators option, and from this given drop down, when you select this global administrator role, and select this, so you will be able to see how many global admins are there in your tenant from the active assignment. How many users are eligible to become a global admin, right? Like that. So this is all available here. Apart from that, as I mentioned, PIM can also help you with the reporting, right? So by going here, you can click on this access review. And from this access review, you can also review that one as well. Like for example, for Microsoft Entra role and for Azure resources will be visible to you here. Apart from that, when you click on My Audit History, so you will be able to see the entire audit history also available here. Adding the eligible members to a role, which is showing you up here. This is the entire list of details available for you. Okay, so this way you can also work and make a best use of it accordingly. Now it's time to, as I said, give you homework. So please make a note of your homework, guys. This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is your homework, which you need to complete by your own. Please make a note of it. This is your day 1 homework. I just clear all the lines from it. This is what you should be covering by yourself every day. We will be covering, and then I will give you homework, which you need to complete by your own. Okay. So this is the things which you need to complete by your own, and followed by your homework labs, which you need to complete. Okay. So please make a note of it. So that's it from my end, guys. Please spend some time to complete your homework, and look forward to see you all in our day 2 session, which will be happening tomorrow. Thanks for your time.
Technology is moving fast. Closing the skills gap can help your team optimize and stay focused on what's ahead, rather than constantly playing tech catch-up. That's why it's important to keep Microsoft certifications active. Here's everything you need to know about renewing your team's certifications. We have introduced a free certification renewal process for role-based and specialty certifications to help you stay current with skills you need to remain up to date in your job role. Please note that the fundamentals certifications do not expire. In order to renew, you don't need to schedule and take an exam through Pearson VUE. Assessments are shorter than the exam. We encourage you to renew early, as soon as you are eligible. You won't lose time by renewing early, as the extension date is not based on the date that you choose to renew, but 1 year from certification expiration date. To access renewal assessment, you need to connect your certification profile to your Microsoft Learn profile only the first time. Once connected, you don't need to repeat this step in future to access renewal assessments. You can take the assessment as many times as you need. But after the second try, you will need to wait at least 24 hours before your next attempt. Embracing a growth mindset and the need for continuous learning can help you optimize and successfully perform in job roles. With a renewed Microsoft certification, globally recognized and industry-endorsed evidence of mastered real-world skills, you will also be able to demonstrate your proficiency in keeping pace with technology,